the Home Office apparently has been trying to hide reports when it comes to just how bad modern slavery is in this country, particularly in places like the farming sector. Some of the stuff that apparently has been going on is really pretty appalling. Shall come to you, Alex. The number of kind of modern slavery instances in this country seems to be going up.
Yeah.
What do you think is the cause of that?
People smuggling networks being successful. And that's the first thing that I think drives it. And ironically, many people who think that they are helping would-be refugees and asylum seekers who say basically don't stop the boats or, don't deport people, makes it more profitable and less risky, and therefore makes modern-day slavery less likely to be stopped. But I have a position on this that pleases nobody, because when people are here as registered as registered asylum seekers or would-be refugees, I would allow them to work until their claims are processed. And I think that not doing so gives large numbers of people with nothing to do a very frustrated sense of their circumstances when they could be paying tax and working and doing something good. So,
wouldn't that incentivise more crossings, though?
No, but the point is that once people are here, if and they are working, we should get on with it as soon as possible and process their claim, process their refugee claim, process their asylum-seeking claim. But they're in the system, right? They're identified. They're in a place. One of the big complaints we have is that they go walkies. Well, one of the things most likely to make them stay put is if we can allow them to earn, and on that earnings, pay some tax. One of the best things about society, if you just pay a little bit of tax, you're more involved in it, you're more part of society than you were before.
Yeah, I'm just astonished you don't think that would be more of a draw for people watching these daft TikTok videos and seeing the situation as it is.
Well, the draw is working in the black economy and not paying any tax at all.
Well, what do you think to it at home, James?
I actually completely agree with Alex. I mean, horrible things happen in the margins and in darkness, and the more that things can be regulated and brought above board, the less likely you're going to get this kind of, horrific hyper-exploitation. So I do think that people should be allowed to work. It also means, we were hearing on the show earlier about rising homelessness because people are removed from their accommodation. Well, if someone was working beforehand, they're much more likely to have the money for a deposit or whatever that might be. But also, here we are, we're talking about labour hyper-exploitation here. So there are also issues with lack of regulation of particular sectors or lack of inspections of particular sectors, and also not having trade unions that are operating in them. Because if you had, for example, in vegetable picking, if you had a trade union that was operating, you'd have a partner that was trying to avoid this kind of hyper-exploitation that's taking place.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories that you read is really, really sickening, and it's actually quite surprising to even think that that kind of stuff can go on in modern-day Britain. People raise concerns about various different things like your nail bars. You've got a lot of nail bars, very cheap. Often Vietnamese, I have to say, nail bars popping up, your car washes.
Yeah, hand car washing is another, apparently, area of gangmaster behaviour.
Yeah, what do you think to it at home? I'm fascinated by your thoughts on that. Do you think we're doing enough? And that point that Alex made as well, and about letting people enter the system legally, quickly, when they do arrive on these shores, is that the answer to some of these situations? Nick says, Michelle, this is nothing new. People have been paying below minimum wage for donkey's years, he says. He blames the immigration plan. Lots of things coming through from Nick there. Do you think this has just been going on for donkey's years and now perhaps people are slightly more focused on it? John says, I don't see any signs of this anywhere. But how would you know, though, John? I've just mentioned to you things like these nail bars, the car washes, stuff like that.
Most of us don't go out and inspect fields of fruit, right? So although you may well eat it, right? And therefore or vegetables. So it's beyond your ken as to whether or not it's happening.
Yeah, I have to say as well, a lot of this apparently is happening in the care sector as well, which I found quite interesting, because there's a lot of different visa systems now that have opened up, not just your seasonal workers one, but your skill shortages, things like the care system. It has attracted now a lot of people from overseas, perhaps to fill the void left by Brexit and people returning back to their homes, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, particularly seasonal work visas, anything where someone doesn't feel like they're as much part of society they are going to be more able to be exploited because they're less likely to know where to go, who to speak to develop friends who speak English, because that's what if you've moved here...
They're housed together, bused to the work together.
Etc. But if you're brought over basically with a group of people who all speak the same language, who aren't integrating into the society because you're not meant to, because you're only here for a few months, the scope for exploitation is much higher.
But look, there are perfectly reasonable routes to seasonal working and to limited time working. Auf Wiedersehen, at all. Skilled workers can be summoned from one jurisdiction to another to work there for some time and then go back. In that time, they work, they earn, they pay, they remit money, they learn skills or teach skills to others. It can be a very good thing. The worst thing in this system we're talking about now isn't, of course, it's very bad if people are being abused in their workplace. The very worst is when someone comes in under the aegis of one scheme and then disappear and are abused. And that's where some of our sexual exploitation comes from. People who come in under a seasonal work visa and then wind up in prostitution in the worst possible and the most base and abused of circumstances. And that's where it's a very unfashionable part of the legal system. We should have more enforcement officers who are equipped and able to go and do spot checks to make sure people are doing what their visa said they were going to do.
There you go. Let me know your thoughts.